Hello everybody, welcome back to the fourth module of Scientific Foundations of Stress. Today we shall discuss about the role of personality factors in stress, role of cultural and ethnic background in stress, and resilience or bouncing back from stress. So before starting to talk about personality, I'll ask you this question: what is personality? We often talk about personality. He has a very strong personality, he is very weak and he does not display a personality. So what actually are we talking of? I will not go into the details, but actually personality is something that differentiates two individuals from each other. So basically personality refers to the individual differences and characteristic patterns of thinking, feeling and behaving. Now, how are these developed? Why is an individual different from another? It is basically because of their nurturance. So, nature and nurturance. So, there are some genetic components and of course, there are environmental factors that bring about the changes in individual differences in behavior. So, it is dependent upon what the person is, the genetic makeup, and how the person has been reared over time, how the values, attitudes and personal memories have been created, how social relationships have been formed, and how the individual has developed his habits and skills with exposure and modulation from others. So how the individual has picked up things from others, assimilated things, and so basically his culture and ethnic background also have an influence on the way he behaves, and that brings about the individual differences, so way he thinks and behaves. Now, why is personality an important factor in stress? So do you think that an individual will differ in his way he behaves in a stressful situation? We have spoken about this earlier, like when a teacher comes to class. I had given this example: when a teacher comes to class and tells everyone that none of you are good and nothing will happen to you in your lives, you're good for nothing. So imagine, this may infuriate one individual, make another individual cry, and the third individual may just not be bothered about what the teacher said. So why are these people behaving differently? So it is actually the way they are responding to this stimulus. So some may be taking it as a stressor and some may be taking it as a stimulus that they can deal with. So somebody else may think that, well, this is one stimulus that I do not need to pay attention to, so I'm just not bothered by it. So the individual differences of the personality actually make the person stressful when due to the way the person responds to the situation cognitively and emotionally. So how the individual is actually appraising the event, we've spoken about this also, that appraisal of the nature, the importance and implications of the event, and by how the individual feels that I can deal with it. The emotional responses are actually determined by the ability of the individual, capability of the individual to deal with the situation, or his perception that he can deal with it. So there are many individuals who may not be able to, who haven't actually faced that situation before. Say, think about somebody doing bungee jumping for the first time. So we might just feel that somebody may say, oh no, I don't want to take that stress. Somebody else may say, I haven't been there, but well, let me see and try, and I think I have these people around me, they've tied these loops around my feet, so it is pretty secure. So it is actually the way the individual is perceiving the stimulus that it becomes a stressor, or it does not, it's not dealt with as a stressor. So it could be, I can handle this, and that will lead that individual to think about the ways to handle it. So you are actually going a step further when you say that I can handle this situation. And when you think, say, this is terrible and I'm going crazy, obviously you take a step backward. you say the next step is something like, oh God, how can I run away? So it's like quitting, and also it increases more anxiety. So just for a minute, close your eyes and see, in most of the situations, do you actually tell yourself that I can handle this, or do you actually start with, oh God, what will happen? So now you know what the next step it is. So if you tell yourself that I can handle this, your next step is definitely about planning. So that's definitely a more positive way, adaptive way of dealing with stress. But if it is that you keep thinking that, oh God, what will happen in most of the situations, and you can actually feel the changes within the body, then you need to focus more on this course on stress management. As I was mentioning about personality, that the genetic makeup of an individual is also very important in its effect on health and behavior. So all human beings, when they face stress, they feel it as a frustrating situation. But some individuals may have a heightened sense of arousal because of their genetic makeup, and they may get more excited due to events and adapt more slowly. Whereas there may be some individuals who genetically they are endowed in such a way that they are more calm and they can adapt to a situation more comfortably than others. Now, some of the other factors of personality that are related to stress. One is locus of control, second self-esteem, third the different personality types, and of course hardiness, which is a positive factor that helps deal with stress. What is locus of control? Locus of control refers to the degree of control which individuals think they have over what happens to them. So this is an overall idea or an overall perception that an individual has about himself and the environment. So it could be divided into two, that's internal locus of control and external locus of control. An internal locus of control is actually where the person feels that he has a control over this situation. So I can, if there is some change that needs to be brought about, I can bring about that change. So if an external locus of control, the individual feels that he has no control over the events, over the happenings in his life, and actually the outside events are controlling his life. So it's something like an individual, if he fails an exam, an individual with an internal locus of control may think like, this is where I went wrong, so I need to correct this to do better. While an external locus of control, individual with an external locus of control may point out that the day was bad, the teacher gave horrible questions, and it wasn't his fault that this question paper was out of syllabus or something like that. So generally it is seen that people with internal locus of control are less likely to be disrupted by external stresses, while people with external locus of control have more influence of the external stresses. Now there is another one advantage of internal locus of control is that there will be more corrective measures from the individual, while in external locus of control, since the blame is on the environment outside me, so I do not try to bring about changes within myself. But the other disadvantage is that an individual with internal locus of control, if he is going through chronic stress for a long time, he faces a lot of physiological problems. The reason being that there is no outburst of it. So it is my fault and I need to bring about changes in my behavior may not always help if there is chronic stress. Here again, when we are mentioning a locus of control, we must remember Seligman's theory of learned helplessness, where even when the individual has a control over the environment, when there is a chronic stress and the individual has external locus of control, he may start believing that it is the external world that is bringing about the change, so that is bringing about the adverse event, so I can do nothing to help myself. Now, this loss of control over the environment is exemplified by many accounts of natives who start behaving strangely if a witch doctor points a bone. I don't know if you've heard of the Kudaicha tribe of it's an Australian Aborigine tribe who have this custom of if an individual, if a witch doctor or if a tribesman points a bone, that's a specific type of bone, of course it could be a human bone, an animal bone, and there are different techniques that are followed, and if the bone is pointed at an individual, at a person of the tribe, strangely the person starts getting ill and weaker with time and eventually dies. Now, this is such a common feature even in today's Australia, that many of the doctors and nurses, paramedical staff, are actually trained to treat this. So, this is a classic example of how the external locus of control is exemplified, where it's the outside world that is bringing about changes within the body system. Now, studies have shown that people will learn better and use their past experience to greater advantage if they believe that their success or failure is determined by their skill rather than by luck. So, with experiences, if they learn that it is that their skill that has brought about the change, then that's a greater advantage for them and they learn better. There is also evidence that people will experience less stress in aversive situations if they believe they have some personal control over the outcomes of the situation. That is, if the people believe that they have an internal locus of control and they can actually control the situation at hand, then they experience less stress. We will come to this later when we talk about hardiness today, where it is actually a positive factor, where the sense of control brings about a positive feeling and brings about a change in the way an individual perceives a situation. Now, coming to self-esteem and stress, again, what is self-esteem? Self-esteem is the individual's self-perception of his or her abilities, skills, and overall qualities that guides his specific cognitive processes and behaviors. So, if I have a positive self-esteem, I will not have a problem going and talking to several strangers in a party. But think about a person who feels that, oh, I'm no good, I don't know this, and they are all there much better than, way better than me, and they are going to actually evaluate me, appraise me. So, how will that person feel and how will that person behave? So, obviously, a person who has a low self-esteem will have a problem dealing with situations, public interactions, and he may actually bring about a stressor on himself just because he is thinking that others are evaluating him or assessing him. Now, low self-esteem is seen to predict stress in individuals and chronic disease. So, Lazarus, we will talk about Lazarus here, Lazarus and Folkman in 1984, they showed that a potential stressor, that is an external event, causes people to undergo two types of cognitive appraisal processes. Now, cognitive appraisal process is how the individual is actually perceiving a situation. So, the primary appraisal and the secondary appraisal. In primary appraisal, what happens is the individual focuses on the nature and the level of threat, while in the secondary appraisal, the individual determines his coping abilities and resources to deal with that stress. So, if I see that a tiger is charging towards me, I will not run away if I know, if I understand. So, I first primary appraisal is I see a tiger coming towards me, that causes stress. Secondary appraisal is, do I have my strengths or resources to deal with this tiger. So, if I am a good efficient hunter with a very good equipped with a gun, then I'll be stressed, but I'll be alert, but I'll not run away, I can face it. But if I see that there's a tiger and I evaluate and realize that, oh God, I am not equipped to actually deal with that stressor, then I will be more stressed. Now, individuals with low self-esteem may also lack the coping resources necessary to regulate these environmental stresses. So, along with the appraisal system, it is also important to understand what coping resources you have. So, Schneiderman showed that individuals with low self-esteem actually feel that I do not have the coping resources, even if they do. So, it would be something like, never mind if I have a gun, I may just miss, or I am not confident that I will be able to use it when the time comes. So, that actually also brings about a reduced resource system. So, if an individual has low resources, or rather if the individual does not use his resources, then with time the less use of resources will also reduce the skills, and likewise it will also bring about a lack of resources or a depletion of the resources, and it further increases, it's like a vicious cycle. So, it further increases the idea that I am no good. So, I am no good, I will just give you an example. I am no good, nobody takes me in any game, and or in any event. I do not try, I am no good, I do not try, nobody takes me, and I do not try again. With time nobody will take me, all the more because I do not participate, and that just confirms the fact that I am no good again. So, this is like a vicious cycle, and this actually increases the stress in an environmental situation, so like a social situation. Now, these are some of the other scientific researches that were carried on with self-esteem and stress. One that shows that was carried on by McDonnell and Leary in 2003 showed that low self-esteem individuals generally would have negative life outcomes. So, they would get into alcoholism, substance abuse, depression, and a worsened recovery from illnesses. High self-esteem people, on the other hand, had more happy lives and had more longevity. This there was a very famous work that was carried out in the homes, and it was seen that individuals who were more positive and who had more positive self-esteem lived more in a home where they felt where they did not feel helpless. The individuals, the aged people in homes who actually felt that there was no way they could deal with their lives, and they were just put in a home, died very soon. And this also affected their cognitive stability and general health. Now, personality types, coming to personality types and stress. This is actually a very interesting part of today's discussion, where we will see that different types of personality have a very important relationship with stress. Now, two Californian cardiologists, Friedman and Rosenman, observed the different patterns of behavior in their cardiac patients, and they were the first ones to point out that this was because of the different personality types. So, this brought about the idea of type A and type B personality. Today, we shall study about type A, type B, type C and type D personality. Type A people, just think about this. Are you a type A person? Do you have a sense of time urgency? Type A people generally feel that there is very less time to carry on with the work. They cannot finish the work and there is lots to do and there is just very less time. So, it is not a particular work per se. It is like this life is too short to carry on so many things, and I have my goal and this and that, and there are just too many things that need to be done, and there is just too less time overall. So, it naturally also affects their behavioral patterns, their thought processes. So, you will see that type A people are generally individuals who make rapid movements. So, they are rushing into things, always into have an impatience, and when they are listening to conversations. So, it could be something like, if you are talking to a type A individual, halfway through he is rushing through the conversation with yes, 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 okay, okay, and so what more do you have to say? So, it is something like that. There is so less time. Why are you taking up so much time for this conversation? So, they would always hurry you, and there is always an anguish that is present in these individuals. They do not like doing repetitive tasks. They will always avoid waiting in the line or waiting in queue to be seated to finish their bank work, or when they have to be seated in a restaurant. So, these are some of the common features. There is a tension if they find nothing to do. So, if they are sitting down, they cannot sit down and relax. That is a very important identifier for a type A personality. So, a type A personality generally needs something to do. They feel restless if they are asked to sit down and relax. And what do you understand by restlessness? So, it is either tapping of fingers or shaking the knee, or stretching their head and nodding. So, it's or timeless humming, tuneless humming, thinking, doing multitasking. So, they are generally individuals who have to keep themselves busy. So, if a person is multitasking, if the person is busy, very often you will see that such people are inattentive to others. So, they do not focus their attention when others are talking to them, and they are not able to detect the fatigue and while engaged in a task. So, be it a mental fatigue or be it a physical fatigue. So, they will carry on listlessly unless that work is finished. So, there are they also seem to they cannot absorb things that are not related to their work. So, they do not focus too much on a person facial expressions, or say something that is irrelevant or unrelated to their work at hand. Very often such people are also very hostile. So, they are suspicious, distrustful, cynical and paranoid about others, primarily because there is a very high competitiveness. So, it may be something like somebody is getting beyond me, he is going to get this and I won't. So, there is a sense of severe competitiveness in a situation. Very often you find them very sarcastic during conversations, pointing out to giving excessive stress to particular areas of conversation, and they are playing a game to win. and the preoccupation and irritation with trivial errors of others, and excessively critical of oneself and others. Now, type A personality need not always be negative. It is definitely related to stress, and type A people are very stressed out, but it also makes them complete a lot of tasks at the constraint of feeling that stress on themselves. So, type A people very often land up with several exhaustions, several chronic illnesses like high blood pressure, heart disease, and they are generally very snappy and irritable. Type B personality trait is just the opposite of type A. There are several advantages of a type A personality, a type B personality, as in it's not related to stressful behavior, but there is also what you see is procrastination. Type C personality has difficulty expressing emotion, and they generally suppress or inhibit emotions, and like anger. Several times it has been said, and Weiner in 1995 has pointed out that type C personality is related to the immunological defenses being broken up in an individual, and he has related this to cancer patients. Type D personality, on the other hand, has a joint tendency to experience negative emotions and to inhibit these emotions while avoiding social contacts with others. So, the D in this case actually stands for distressed. So, the type D personality experiences negative emotions, is gloomy, anxious, and a social warrior. You will very often find cardiac disorders in type D personalities, and has a high risk of emotional disorders like depression. Denollet pointed this type D personality type in 2000 when she was working with cardiac cases. Now, hardiness. Hardiness is a protective factor, and as I was talking about, that this actually helps an individual to deal with stress. This a very important study by Maddy and his team in 1981 showed. He followed a group of workers who had been out of their job after downsizing in Illinois Bell Company, and he saw that 2/3 employees suffered significant performance, leadership, and health declines, while the 1/3 thrived under same conditions, and they maintained health, happiness, and performance. He found out that the reason was because of the 3 key beliefs that were different in these individuals, and these key beliefs he termed as hardiness. They were commitment, control, and the challenging attitude of individuals. So, he pointed out that the commitment is involvement of oneself in whatever he is doing. So, he is to approach life with a sense of curiosity and meaningfulness. We've already spoken of control, where the individual feels that he has a control over whatever is going on in his life, and a challenge to meet the adverse effects of life. So, he pointed out that if there was commitment and control, it was associated with good health, and feeling helpless, that is not in control, and being uncommitted, these individuals find themselves in stressful conditions. So, to sum it up, an optimistic outlook to life actually makes you healthier. So, we actually see that a lot of cultural and ethnic backgrounds also have a relationship to stress. So, competitiveness and striving for achievement are some of the goals of some specific capitalist societies, but not in traditional and communal ones. So, where societies, in Oriental societies, where the family acts as a protective factor in stress, while in many of the modern societies, the individual may feel more isolated and withdrawn. And it has been seen that there are several cases of clinical depression where the individual has a lack of protective factors, or the perception of a lack of protective factors. Also, in several societies, some of the political and socio-political issues have been a serious reason for stress, like in North America and Europe, which faced racial discrimination. In India too, we come across racial discrimination, which has been a cause of stress for the diverse populations. Now, I'll just sum up today's session by saying that stress itself could also be a cause of stress. So, if an individual responds, if an individual's responses begin to build up, then people will start responding in terms of their perception of these emotional changes. So, emotional changes bring about the stress too. For example, if I am under pressure since every contact, then every contact in life is a cue for a further stressor. And say if there is an individual who is in a social situation, I am stressed, I have been stressed before, that will be a stressor for me when I face the next situation, because the apperception of the previous experiences increases the stress. So, for a highly moral person, so he himself imposes stress on himself for not being able to stand up to his own standards. So, in a nutshell, today we have discussed the different types of stress. We have discussed about the different types of personality and how it relates to stress, locus of control, and hardiness, which is actually a resilience factor that helps us to bounce back. So, you can carry this home about the commitment, control, and challenge that you need to feel from a situation. So, that will act as a protective factor to help you deal with life events. Thank you.